Our story today comes from the final years of the Goryeo dynasty in ancient Korea. The government at the time was very antagonistic toward Buddhism, and they heavily persecuted Buddhists. To the point that one day the government ordered the arrest of all Buddhist monks who fled their temples and placed a large bounty on them. One of the monks went to his sister's home to ask her for shelter and to hide from the government. The sister accepted and told him to hide in the closet. The monk was thankful to his sister and went to hide in the closet like she told him. But while inside the closet, he heard his sister arguing with her husband. She was telling her husband that she intended to hand her brother over to the government to get the money of the bounty. The monk was scared and felt cornered, so he took some steam dried and started to shape it in the form of a small grotesque beast. And then he started to feed the beast with small needles and scrap metal. And then something miraculous happened. The grotesque beast came to life and started eating the scrap metal on its own. Meanwhile, the husband and wife continued arguing outside. The husband was very enraged by his wife's scheme to sell out her own brother for money. Not to mention, her husband was a loyal Buddhist himself, and her brother was a Buddhist monk. So obviously, she didn't think this through. The argument got fiercer, and in a moment of anger, the husband killed his wife and then went to free the Buddhist monk. But when he did, he also set free the monster created by the monk. The small monster went on a rampage through the house, devouring any metal object it could find. And the more it ate, the bigger and more powerful it became. And when it ate all the metal in the house, it broke through the walls of the house, taking its rampage to the rest of the village. By the time the soldiers of the government arrived at the scene, they found themselves staring at a hulking figure with the body of a bear and the eyes of a rhino and the paws and snout of a tiger. Its skin was covered in scales like that of a snake, and its teeth were jagged and sharp like a hacksaw. The brave soldiers surrounded the beast and tried to kill it. They shot it with their arrows and stabbed it with their spears and hacked it with their swords. But it was all meaningless. Their weapons were useless against the monster. On the contrary, the monster devoured their weapons and grew in size and power. And the more it ate, the more its body morphed and became covered in metal. Eventually, out of desperation, they tried to melt the monster with fire, and they were successful in setting it ablaze. But the fire didn't harm the monster in the least. It only made it stronger and more dangerous. The rampage of the monster continued until it turned the village into a burning wasteland. And this was how the impossible to kill monster was born. The monster of fire and metal, the Bulgasari. Now, the moral of this story is greed is a bad thing. Obviously, the greed of the sister is what caused all of this, but I think we can all agree that the true moral of the story is don't mess with Buddhist monks. They are scary bastards. And that's all for today. See you next time, and I hope you enjoyed.